Welcome back, and joining me with more insight on the day's trade is Annatjie van Rooyen from Regeneysys Business School. Thank you so much for your time, Annatjie. The markets are not reacting very well to D-Day. And of course, including South Africa, we've seen our rand just experiencing the most pain. What have you made of how markets have reacted to the developments? I would maybe imagine that it is not a taco scenario where Trump has changed his mind.
Good afternoon, Annatjie, and thank you for having me on your show. Yes, unfortunately, that 30% tariff announcement is now causing the JSE, which has been reaching record highs, to sell off today. And this is all because of the 30%. The market was definitely expecting a lower rate. Hopefully, we can still negotiate a lower rate. I don't think anything is impossible here. But the banks are really leading the decline on the market today because the tariff marks a major risk to South Africa's export sectors and the economic outlook of the country. It's also resulted in a weakening currency, as you have mentioned. And then we're looking at reduced exports in the short term and reduced foreign exchange reserves, pressuring our jobs. You know, we're looking at about 100,000 jobs that can get lost in the auto and the agricultural sector. And then the banks, of course, have increased credit and liquidity risks.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting because, I did have a conversation on the ABSA PMI as well for the manufacturing sector. And actually, for the first time in 9 months, it actually went to expansionary territory, and that was in July. So I'm guessing now for August, with everything that's happening and the pressure that we could see in the export market in the short term, that actually might make a U-turn. Well, Annatjie, let's get into some company news. We did actually have Anglo Gold Ashanti coming out with a second quarter interim results release, and it seems that things are going good. We had gold production up by double digits, free cash flow rising almost 150%. Is this just confirming just the case and the investment case and the case for growth for gold counters at this point?
Yes, look, the investment case definitely is still attractive. The main driver of the solid result here was the better gold price, and they've received just under $1,000 per ounce more. So they've also been able to reduce their all-in sustaining cost. Well, that was only up by 7%, which actually is very good. And then their net debt is down 92%. And then in their outlook, they said that their guidance remains unchanged. So, yeah, I still think, the safe haven trade might just return some point.
All right. Well, talking about safe, there seems to be some safety in tech stocks. And we did get 2 of the magnificent 7 companies coming out with earnings, and that is Amazon and Apple. Let's actually start off there with the iPhone maker, Apple. I must say that I was quite surprised with the sales there. Of course, we saw even particularly with the iPhones, looking at the link between China and the US, and of course what could come from the tariff scenario. What did you make of those numbers that beat estimates?
Yeah, the sales in China saw a notable recovery, and sales remained strong in the US and Europe. And the growth actually surpassed expectations across all their regions. So their costs were well contained and their gross margin expanded notable, and this was driving strong profitability. No specific guidance was provided for 2025, but the company's earnings run rate is now ahead of consensus, so one can anticipate an upgrade to analysts' forecasts as a result. So it's looking good for Apple, even though there are still some concerns and possible headwinds, but just based on numbers, it's actually looking very, very positive.
All right. And what about Amazon? Because as much as Apple did have a rise in its share price a little bit today, we did have Amazon's shares actually sinking, even though it did post an earnings beat.
Yeah, the company has delivered strong results ahead of market expectations. The cloud business achieved record revenue, although growth was slightly lower than that of their peers, and this is what's worrying investors. So management outlook was upbeat with net sales guidance ahead of market consensus. but the operating income forecast was behind expectations, and this, along with the crowd growth disappointment, resulted in pressure on the share price.
All right. Well, Annatjie, before we get to your stock pick, let's take a sneak peek of today's segment on Stock Watch and touch on what counters your industry peers are watching closely.
Just 2 days ago, I chose Meta, which has gone up magnificently in that. But I would still stay with it. Remember, I just came off the bench to be on this program, so I haven't thought of one. But I tell you what I'm looking at. Something that has been knocked incredibly is Novo Nordisk. The theme is still intact. And if you haven't gone in now, I'm looking very carefully, because when you make losses like that, everybody gets wounded and they kind of putting plasters on and kind of looking after their bruising. But this is a good business that's been around for 100 years. I think if you looked at the absolute numbers, they're still strong. And although I'm not giving you a loud shout to buy it, I'm looking at these levels. I think they have knocked it far too heavily, and now there's going to be a level where it looks attractive. And believe me, they will still sell Ozempic and Wegovy and so on. But I think this whole sell-off that we're seeing now in Europe is actually going to throw up some very attractive entry points.
Okay, all right.
I say Ferrari as well, yeah. So, but Novo Nordisk is attracting me at these levels.
Yeah. Interesting that you bring up Ferrari. I had Mohammed Wagley on, and he also chose Ferrari as his stock pick.
Hey, that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, Ramila, where are you finding opportunity today?
So since this week was the 10-year celebration of Ethereum, I chose the BlackRock ETH ETF, which is the Ethereum, and that's just purely because I'm just following where the money is. I mean, you look at the network expansion and more transaction happening on that chain and seeing about 10.2 odd billion into the ETF inflows into Ethereum. I think we have a price target of above 5,000 internally on Ethereum, so I'm just following where the money is and just taking the BlackRock ETF.
All right, Annatjie, Novo Nordisk, this is an interesting one because it came out with numbers, I think, a few days ago, and we saw on the day the share price declining 26%. That is a huge nosedive. Talk to me about how you're viewing, because now obviously the questions arise on who is actually winning the weight loss drug wars between Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk. So your view on Novo Nordisk?
Look, I agree that one should definitely have a look at them. It's a nice entry level. You want to buy when these good quality stocks are low, not when they're high. So this company has a solid track record. They have that specialization in the diabetes care and leading innovations, which has propelled revenue growth and profit growth over the decades, which is setting them ahead in this sector. So I definitely agree with this one, that I think they will face the headwinds and the tariff story, and I think it's still a good investment case.
Well, let's put our foot on the accelerator. What about Ferrari?
Ferrari is not cheap, but it's justified.
The share and the car.
I like both. But I'll buy the car, but I'm not sure if I'll buy the share at this level. Maybe on a dip I'll buy them.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the BlackRock Ethereum ETF. And of course, you also have a keen interest in that cryptocurrency space. What's your take on that?
Yeah, this ETF was actually my stock pick the previous time I was on the show, so I definitely agree with that. The crypto market is currently supported by a friendlier regulatory environment in the US, especially after that Genius bill was passed. So this bill provides regulatory frameworks for companies issuing stable coins, and the bids are further supported by a bet against fiat currencies. And we've seen that when the dollar was weakening since Liberation Day. Now it's a bit stronger on the back of all these tariff deals that were announced during the past week. But I don't think the dollar is out of the woods yet, because you have that massive bill, the big beautiful bill running in the background, which is deteriorating the fiscal position, and that is in favor of the crypto market. And we're seeing record inflows into these ETFs. So I definitely support the investment case for Ethereum.
All right. What else do you support today? Your stock pick, Annatjie?
Oh, yes, I also have to pick one. I'm going for ShopRite. So I'm going to be defensive because this market is not looking great today. But see, we all know that Shoprite is leader in the South African formal retail space with solid earnings track record. And we will see continued growth from the online shopping through 60/60. And we also think that we will definitely see continued operational efficiency and margin expansion. And I do think that the share price offers very good long-term value for investors. So a bit more defensive, but an SA Inc. stock, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. The Reserve Bank governor yesterday said we'll see the deviations and the shocks, but we'll get over it. So SA Inc. is still there and it offers value.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time and for your very valuable insights today, Annatjie. That was Annatjie van Rooyen from Regeneysys Business School.